تقع الإسكندرية بفرجينيا في قلب منطقة العاصمة واشنطن على الجانب الآخر من نهر البوتوماك، وهي منطقة تعج بالنشاط. تأسست الإسكندرية العام 1749 ونجحت منظومتها من خلال مراكز البيع بالتجزئة، حيث يستطيع مدمنو التسوق التمتع بالمحلات الجذابة التي تحتضنها البنايات التاريخية. تحتل الإسكندرية المرتبة السابعة بين المدن المستقلة الأكبر والأعلى دخلاً في ولاية فرجينيا. تلك الولاية التي يكون المسلمون 3% من سكانها. كارل يمثل أحد هؤلاء 150,000 مسلم الذين يعيشون هناك.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Carl and I converted to Islam 4 years ago.
من أنزل الأمطار وفجر الأنهار وأنبت الأزهار تزخرف الجبال، من ينشر الصباح ويرسل الرياح ويملأ البطاح برزقه الحلال. الله 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 الله.
I come from a small rural New England town, and my parents were divorced and I lived with my mother, and we would go to church every Sunday, and that was the faith of our household. My father is what he considers to be a home Baptist, which means he doesn't actually attend any church or belong to any religious organization. He just stays at home and practices his faith. The only thing I really knew about Islam before I started my investigation several years ago was what you'd pick up on Fox or CNN or anything like that. I had never actually picked up a Quran. I had never actually opened it. I'd never actually read it. I'd never actually spoken to another Muslim. So your typical American, I knew the same as what they knew. I knew that Islam came from the Middle East and that there were some people that followed Islam that had some extremely radical ideas about things that affected the way I lived, and that was really all I knew about Islam. My first exposure to Islam was when I was in college after I had gotten out of the military. I had taken a world civics course, and our professor had us all choose a verse from the Quran and had us read it and transcribe it, and you know, what is the meaning of this, and had us analyze just a single ayah. And at that was like my very first introduction to Islam. After that, I moved to DC. I worked with a young lady who was from Egypt, and we would spend our lunches talking about religion and faith and comparing and contrasting and things like that. And she was engaged to be married, and before she left America to go to Egypt, she left me with a copy of the Quran. I spent a lot of time just looking through it and reading it and trying to study. I think the main difference that I found between Christianity and Islam is, other than the simple fact that Allah has no partners, which is of course different than what Christianity teaches us, it was like, this is the next level, this is the next step, this is the evolution of where we're supposed to be. There is a mosque in Falls Church called Dar Hejar, and on Sundays they give a class for people that are interested in Islam, or they want to convert to Islam, or they just want to learn more, or what have you. And so I started attending that class, and I started just learning and building my deen. And About 4 years ago, I went to the Washington Islamic Center on Embassy Row in Washington, D.C., and I took my Shahada, and I was registered with the Saudi Embassy as a Muslim convert. The one thing that drove the point of Islam home for me was just simply that Allah is not here to serve us. He doesn't need us at all. We're here to serve Him. And He doesn't ask anything of us other than, pray 5 times a day. And that was the point that I realized that I'd been going about everything wrong all my life. I'm here to serve Allah. Allah's not here to serve me. If there was something that I was wavering on, Islam was able to take me and put me and say, no, don't lean that way and don't lean this way, just keep right here and continue this way. But there really isn't any sacrifice or anything I gave up. The truth is the truth is the truth, and it is what it is, and you can't hide it, and you can't be afraid of it, and you can't be ashamed of it. So I wasn't afraid of what I had done. I had a peace and I had a calmness on me that I knew I was on the right path and I was doing the right thing. I am very ecstatic to be a Muslim, and I do not regret my decisions at all. Alhamdulillah.
So I was trying to tell you, your school is not that far.
When I converted to Islam, my family and most of my friends, none of them had any prior knowledge to what I was doing. It was really more of a self-exploration, learning more about myself and learning more about what I'm doing and who I am and what my place is in serving Allah.
ثقة منه باختياره الإسلام يأخذ كارل منهجاً بسيطاً عندما يتعلق الأمر بقبول أصدقائه وعائلته.
Your family is your family, and they're supposed to stick by you no matter what you do. And it's the same with friends. I'm very close with a lot of my friends, and my close friends, I consider them to be family. And if my choice in worshiping Allah in this manner is a problem for them, then they're probably not very good friends to begin with.
We definitely talk a lot about the religion when we're together, and I actually really like that, again, because I have other Muslim friends and sometimes the topic won't come up for years between us. But with him, it's kind of like his whole focus in life is centered around Islam, which is kind of what it should be for all Muslims. So it's really good that he likes to ask and he likes to talk about it, and we all learn from each other. Just because he's the convert doesn't mean we know so much more, because in reality I've been learning much more from him than he probably has from me.
I don't think him becoming a Muslim has affected our relationship at all. The way they do things differently makes sense to me, and how Muslims don't date, that makes sense. Why they don't drink alcohol, how they cover up.
I don't really think it's affected our relationship at all. I think, if anything, it may have brought us closer. So we have, a lot of parents struggle with their teenagers, finding things to talk about and finding conversations to carry. Islam is a way of life, so it gives my teenage son and I an opportunity and something to talk about, and it shows that he can be comfortable talking to me about these things because it's part of my religion, and it gives me a chance to not only talk and bond with him, but to educate him as well. We've talked about alcohol, we've talked about marriage, we've talked about praying. You've prayed with us, you've gone to the mosque, you've prayed Friday prayers with us. Yeah, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have.
If anything, Islam has brought me closer to my family, because we're taught in Islam, heaven is at the feet of your mother. Whereas my relationship with my parents was very strained before, in studying Islam, I realized that I needed to step up my game, and I needed to be a better son to my mother and my father. When I converted to Islam, I asked my supervisor for some time off. I said I needed to go to DC and handle some personal business. And I came in the next day and I said, hey, I went to the Washington Islamic Center and I converted to Islam yesterday. I am a Muslim. And that was it. I didn't hide it. I didn't try to, deny. I didn't try anything like that. I was just upfront and honest and forward. Honesty is the best policy.
يعود جزء كبير من نجاح كارل في عمله إلى اعترافه بفضل الله عندما وهبه هذه المهارة.
And you have to have a set of natural skills from Allah to do my job. It's not everybody can taste 19 different things in a cup of coffee. I had been led to my job through Allah. I knew that. And so I really had no fear of losing my job. I suppose there was some small fear of being treated a little differently. Like, oh, you're a Muslim now, especially with, all the press they had. And I think at the time that I converted, Jihad Jane was real popular in the news at the time. And so, there were those moments of just looks from the coworkers at first. But there was never any fear of losing my job or anything like that. I am the only Muslim working at the Alexandria, Virginia location of ME Swing Coffee. We've had a lot of personnel changes here at ME Swing since I've been here over the last 5-6 years, something like that. And a lot of the personnel turnover coincided with my conversion. So it's like when people started working here, they just knew I was a Muslim when they started. You're washing to pray and you're coming in here and you're praying, or you're praying out there by the roaster or whatever you need be. It's just something that became natural to them because, they're new here. So they're like, oh, well, he's praying, he must be a Muslim. I think that at first it was a little awkward praying at work. And I know I made some people uncomfortable because I pray in the break room a lot. And if they had to go through the break room to get to the main warehouse, there was just that moment of, oh, sorry, But
I first learned that Carl was Muslim when he told me. I think I saw his prayer mat and I was just looking at it. I wasn't staring at it, I just saw it and he's like, oh, that's my prayer mat. And then he proceeded to tell me about how he converted because I kind of asked him about it because I was interested. So
when I first started working here, I went over to the roaster machine talking to him about business-oriented things, what we were doing, what was happening in the facility. And I remember seeing a little booklet, and I saw the writing was Arabic, I believe, and I knew something was going on. So I think I picked it up and looked at it. I believe it's still there. It's on the control panel of the roaster. And so I just came right out and asked him about that. What is this? And he said, oh, that's my prayer book. He said, I wish I understood Arabic better, but what I do understand, are the prayers that I follow, for I have converted to Islam. So within those first 2 weeks of knowing Carl, I think that we had crossed that line and talked about religion. And then we both discovered that we both enjoyed talking about religion from, many aspects. We enjoyed talking about Christianity, Judaism, and of course, Islam.
سمحت طبيعة كارل الودية والمسالمة له بالحصول على فرصة إعطاء مثال إيجابي لأولئك الذين لديهم وجهات نظر مضللة.
I will say that we've carried a lot of very philosophical conversations because some of the staff, they have questions, and they're like, well, we saw on CNN that Muslims believe this or Muslims do that. Is that true? How do you do this? And what you see on there is not really the way Muslims are. Islam is a religion of peace and understanding. When you don't actually talk to a Muslim and actually, come to an understanding of what Islam is and what a Muslim does, because it's a submission to God, a submission to Allah. The Quran teaches us that you need to respect the people of the book. And respecting the people of the book means Christians, Jews, everybody, and just living together as a society and a community. I'm a Muslim and I'm accepted here, and the people don't judge, there are questions, but it's just more of questions of understanding to getting to grow in their own personal way.
My name is Dawood Nasimi. I'm working with the Council of Muslim Organizations in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And I'm also volunteering as an imam and as a counselor and teacher in different mosques, masajid. When you live as a Muslim in non-Muslim countries, you realize that you're a minority, and you feel like you have to really work hard yourself to educate yourself about Islam, because a lot of people, non-Muslims, will ask you questions. You have to be able to answer. In Muslim countries, nobody asks you these kind of questions. In non-Muslim countries, a lot of people ask you questions about Islam. You have to be able to answer the questions. You have to also live an exemplary life for others because you're representing Islam. And also, since the environment is non-Islamic in many ways, so you will face problems that you have to really stick to Islam very seriously with your family and children and other Muslims to keep your faith and your religion.
Working with an American who chose to convert to Islam is just like working with any other American. I feel like there's not really any difference between him and anyone else who works here who practices Catholicism or any other religion.
I started to learn about some of the dedication that he has. I'd heard about praying 5 times a day, but to hear about something and then to actually see it in action, to see him want to pray, or to hear him on Friday say, I'm going to the mosque, and I thought, and I kind of, I would say I had some respect for that, because instead of running off to, go shopping or go to a bar for a beer, Carl was letting me know that he wanted to go pray, and he wanted to take that seriously.
2 drops, and we'll be all set.
Let's knock it out.
All right, let's do that.
Okay.
I think the biggest challenge that I have is finding the time to pray in a busy environment. We'll get working and we'll just get rolling, and especially when you're dealing with when you're roasting coffee 100 pounds at a time, you have to pay attention, you have to focus, because you don't want it to burn, you don't want to start a fire, you don't want to, so you just have to pay attention to the clock to make sure you make Duhar prayer. And you also got to make sure that you're not burning the product in the roaster. But that's my biggest challenge here. I'll let Leanne, who's my administrative assistant, I'll just let her know. I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna go pray, just give me a minute. I'll use the washroom right here to wash up. I'll come back here and I'll close the doors and I'll pray right here in the cupping lab, and then we just get on with our day.
يعترف كارل بأن الصعوبات اليومية تجعل من أدائه للصلاة في وقتها تحد قد لا يكون أهلا له دائما.
Sometimes, again, because of the work schedule, I do tend to push it off, but I don't like doing that. I hate doing that, because Allah tells us we never know when our last moment is, and so it's very important to do your prayers on time. But again, with this work environment, sometimes I'm late with it. And even myself, I had done some traveling internationally, so there wasn't anything American that I had to give up that was so important to my life. For a lot of health reasons, a lot of the food and a lot of the alcohol and things like that, I didn't really partake of any of that anyway, because, if you look at medical reports, and pork is real bad for you. It causes, heart disease. And so I tried to avoid that anyway. And, you know, and alcohol, I wasn't that much of a drinker anyway. So it was nothing to give that up.
Living with my father, being Islam, I don't eat pork. I fasted one Ramadan with him. And as young as I am, I don't drink or anything, date or party, so.
Never really had a problem with my dress. I've always been kind of a blue jeans and t-shirt kind of guy. So I'm not like wearing my pants too low, and I'm not wearing very short shorts. And so I always dressed very halal. My dress was always very halal. I will say that the one thing that did change in my life, for the better of course, is that I'm praying 5 times a day now. And it's so much better to be able to take those moments, to have just a moment of peace in your life. You'll get caught up in just the busyness, and you'll be frantic. And we have to remember to take a break every now and then. And especially as hot as it's been in DC recently, it's nice to go in and make wudu and take that cold water and wipe your face down with it. I understand that as a Muslim, I am allowed to marry a non-Muslim, but I also understand that I'm a Muslim convert, and I needed a spouse that would help me in my deen, a spouse that would help me grow and would help me study. I needed somebody that I could, you know, say, okay, I've read this Arabic word, what does this mean? I don't understand this. So it was important to me to marry a Muslim because I needed that for my deen.
Those who embrace Islam, it is a huge decision that they make, and they would have a lot of challenges. They would have challenges from their own family, from the society in large, and they will have to learn a lot of things. They will have to change a lot of their habits, a lot of things. So it is very difficult sometimes for them, and they really need a very good support system. Sometimes if they don't get the help, they get discouraged, and some individuals might even go back to their way because it's too much for them when they see this much change. But alhamdulillah, the good news is that those people who accept Islam, since they have already studied it and educated themselves, so they know what to expect. You know, they make these decisions knowingly and consciously, so they're ready for some ups and downs.
في الوقت الذي شكل فيه ترك المسيحية صراعاً لبعض الأمريكيين، إلا أنه لم يكن كذلك بالنسبة لكار.
Going back to Christianity has never been a thought that I've had. It's never been a struggle that I've undertaken, because I know the sense of peace and calmness that I have, you know, from Islam. I know I've made the right decision, and I inshallah, you know, when I have children with my beautiful wife, inshallah, that we'll raise them to be good Muslims, because we know what the Quran says and we know what's right. It is very important for me that my son, inshallah, accepts Islam someday. At his age, acceptance of Islam is something that he has to come to on his own. And the only thing I can do at this point in the day is just give him the tools, show him the path that I walked on, and hopefully he'll follow and understand and accept. Inshallah, someday that is what will happen.
I don't think he's pushing me to become a Muslim, but he is encouraging me to. Yeah, I do talk to him about why he chose Islam and just about what they believe and how they feel about things. And I don't know, just learning about Islam has answered a couple of life questions for me, I guess.
It's an understanding that he has to come to on his own, because when I started investigating Islam and thinking about becoming a Muslim, I didn't have the tools available to me. And now that I have found all the tools that I needed, I want to offer them to him, you know, and answer any questions he has. This is the Civil War fort. I think it was an ammo.
All my life, I've been studying and reading and learning and trying to know as much as I can about Allah and religions and things like that. And after accepting Islam, it was the first time that I had a sense of calmness and a sense of peace about me and the decisions I had made. You know, one of the pillars of Islam is that everything is under God's control. Everything is already planned out, everything's already written out. And it was like, okay. And it takes a weight off your shoulders to just say, okay, we'll pray, we'll ask Allah for His guidance, and we'll just follow on what He has laid out for me already. I once heard somebody say that it is impossible to pick up a Quran and read it from cover to cover and not accept Islam. And it's very true. You know, every time there's an instance on TV or in the news or even overseas, these people are going and they're picking up the Quran and they're actually reading it. And, you know, they're reading it from cover to cover and they're realizing that that's not really in there like that. And then they're converting because, again, you can't really read the Quran from cover to cover and not convert.
If I had to give Carl advice, I would tell him to keep spreading the word. Be vocal about it, because it's nice to have that kind of camaraderie. Like, you came from where I was, and you know, I can look at you as somebody I can go to for help and questions, and I'm not alone in the world. Like, no, my neighbors aren't going to hate me when they find out I'm Muslim. Like, life goes on when I convert. So I think it's amazing that he's vocal and he's proud of his religion, and he has no shame or whatsoever any hang-ups telling people that once before I was not Muslim and now I am, and this is why I am, and maybe you should think about it too. He's very strong in his faith, and I mean, honestly, I would just tell him to keep doing what you're doing, do it on a bigger scale, and God will reward you in so many ways.
The only thing there is to fear in this life is Allah. You fear no man and only fear Allah. If you've studied and you've learned and you know what is right, then just go with it. Don't fear what other people are gonna think and what other people are gonna feel, because, you know, throughout time, you know, the Bible, the Quran, they're all full of stories of people just thinking what they want to think. It's been that way since day one. So don't fear other people, only fear Allah. And if you know Islam is right, then just go with what you know.